When we last left you guys, we had just completed our river rafting adventure, and we have now made our way over to Silverton, Colorado, and everyone is hungry. So we stopped at a nice spot just before the start of the Stony Pass Trail to have a quick bite to eat, and the views here are amazing. This first stop was just a small sample of what lie ahead for us, some of the most beautiful backcountry we had ever seen. Now that everyone had full bellies, it was time to hit the trail. The very steep trail. The very steep and rocky trail. The trail isn't very technical. It is narrow in some spots, and you might encounter some side-by-sides, so it's just something to keep in mind. At this point, we reached the summit, which is well over 12,000 feet. We got off, we stretched our legs, had a beer, and it was off to head down the mountain again. The trail is about 40 miles long, so we didn't plan on completing it in one day. We were hoping to go somewhere about halfway and find camp, hopefully early enough to make dinner. We were able to find this beautiful camp spot with plenty of time to make dinner. And since we didn't have anywhere to be the next morning, we were able to make a proper meal. Pork chops with chimichurri sauce on one grill, teriyaki chicken on the other. The next morning we slept in a little bit, had our coffee by the creek before it was time to move out. And what a beautiful view it was. coming around this bend, we were greeted with a very pleasant surprise, something that none of us were expecting. Yep, that would be 2 Patriot Campers set up amongst this beautiful scenery. We would have never guessed in a million years that we'd run into 2 other Patriot Camper families. This was not a planned meetup at all. This was 100% spontaneous. Their camp spot was absolutely breathtaking. We've been fortunate enough to meet several Patriot Camper families. Every single one of them has been the nicest people we've ever met, and these 2 families here were no exception. We love sharing stories with people from all over the country. After a quick beer, it was time to hit the road again. As difficult as it was to leave such a beautiful spot, there was just too much of Colorado that we wanted to see. So it was time to get this train moving again. Finding camp along Cinnamon Pass wasn't the easiest, but then again, we are pulling 3 trailers, so we aren't doing ourselves any favors. Luckily, we found a spot that was pretty darn cool. Now, most people would have thought, I don't think you're going to be able to get those 3 trailers in there. But remember, we're experts at this. Okay, maybe not experts, but pretty good at picking camp spots. Everyone meet Bear. Bear is Mike and Alyssa's rescue dog. She is such a wonderful animal. She will play fetch with you till your arm falls off. The next morning, while my family slept in, I was off to check out the views the way I love to do it, on two wheels. I could spend all day here, but there was too much more to see, so it's time to head back and have some coffee and explore more of this area. Next on the agenda was to head up and over Cinnamon Pass and into the town of Uri, where we would be saying our goodbyes to Mike, Alyssa, and Jake, since it was time for them to head back home. Out of respect for the locals, we didn't spend a lot of time in Uri. We had some ice cream, bought a sticker, and it was off to our next camp destination. This camp spot was beautiful. It was a nice quiet spot between Silverton and Durango with our own little creek where the kids could explore. It started raining on us, so it was time to head back to camp to find shelter. Now, we thought it was just going to be a little bit of a rain, but it rained quite a bit. We found shelter under the awning, but after a while, it just started raining too much, so we decided to turn in and watch a movie. City Slickers, one of my all-time favorites. The next morning, everything was completely soaked. So Greg and I did some thinking, and we made a decision. It was time to go find some dry land and warmer temperatures. So we did just that. We packed everything up and headed on out. Even though this was a very good spot, we would have loved to stay. It just wasn't conducive with all the rain that was in the forecast. Off to Utah we went, where the weatherman said it was going to be dry and 80 degrees. It was exactly what we needed to dry everything off. 80 degrees also meant a nice relaxing shower and a nice cold beer. I mean, what could be better than that? Especially with views like this. Oh, and food. Beef and ceviche tostadas on the menu for tonight. The weather was so nice that we slept with all the windows open that night and woke up to these beautiful views. Beautiful morning views call for fancy coffee. Unfortunately, our time has now come to an end. We want to thank you guys for joining us on this journey. We've had an absolute blast and hope to be back one day. We're not 100% sure where our next adventure is going to be, but what we do know is that this train is going to keep on moving.